Thank you, Mr Acting President. The motion that I'm moving today is to establish a select committee of this Council to inquire into and report on public and active transport in South Australia. And what I'm proposing is for this committee to have a fairly broad remit. That is, look at the availability and quality of public transport, including looking at infrastructure and services in the cities but also in regional areas, the impact of fares and frequency, and the efficacy and impacts of on-demand public transport services. I'm also proposing that this committee look at the role of government in enabling and encouraging active transport, including measures that enable more participation, the effect on community health and well-being, the effect on climate change mitigation, and measures to improve safety for pedestrians and cyclists. And I'm also proposing, Mr President, that the committee look at the use of e-scooters and potential opportunities for their expansion or further regulation. Now, this is a timely committee, Mr Acting President, because we have seen a change of government, and it is an opportunity, therefore, to put on the new government's radar and indeed on the radar of this parliament active transport. Why is that important, you might ask, Mr President? Well, we are in the middle of a climate change crisis, and we know that one of the major contributors to carbon emissions here in South Australia is indeed road vehicles, motor vehicles. They're a significant cause of carbon emissions. So if we're going to reduce those emissions, we need to look at what we can do to encourage active transport, that is the use of bicycles, but also pedestrianisation. There's also some really important benefits that flow in terms of community health and well-being, Mr Acting President. And we know that if you walk and if you cycle, there are lots of important health benefits that flow. So really, these transport options are good for people and they're good for our environment, and we need to look at what we can do to incentivise and enable those alternatives to car travel. We have had in South Australia, I think it's fair to say, a fairly unhealthy battle between cars and bicycles. Often we see this conflict between the two, between cyclists and between motorists. That's not helpful. It's not advancing good policy here in our state. Members might recall that back in the last parliament I introduced a private member's bill to establish an active transport commissioner who would encourage walking and cycling and advocate good policy based on a model that was implemented quite successfully by the government over in the United Kingdom. These are the sorts of ideas that this committee might well consider as a way of encouraging more active transport, getting people to look at public transport and what some of the barriers might be to them using it. The other point that I want to draw members' attention to, Mr Acting President, is also the inclusion of e-scooters. I do think e-scooters have been a very positive addition to our transport offerings here in South Australia, but there are some challenges there as well. I mean, obviously, from the perspective of the Greens, people using e-scooters is a welcome development because it reduces, again, carbon emissions. It reduces congestion on our roads. It provides opportunities for people to move around quickly. But there have also been challenges. One of the issues that is regularly raised with me, for instance, is the role of e-scooters on footpaths and what that means for pedestrian safety. I know also that there are some significant regulations placed on e-scooters at the moment. For instance, people can't purchase them for private use. You can only use them through a ride hiring arrangement. So I'm hoping that this committee, if it is established, would address all of these issues and come up with some really good ideas that could form the basis for further work here in this parliament. And with that, I conclude my remarks.